Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new video from me. This one is my first tier list and it is the Slayer helms. So I'm pretty stoked to be doing this because a few of my viewers may know that I am an avid Slayer player. I do have about 27ish mil XP in it, and often, you know, the famous quote has been like, my mates will say, "What are you doing?" And it was always Slayer, and they're like, "Oh god, can we do a raid or something?" So I was always doing that, PvP, you know, on the side a little bit with mates, but mainly it was Slayer. So I really enjoy it. It's just over time, it's just been a chill thing I can do. I can also do it on my phone, so yeah. So it's time to make this tier list, and what better one to do than the Slayer helms. So what I've done is I've actually put them in order here. So I've done them in order where I actually got the recolors. So my first recolor was actually when the actual update dropped, and I think that was in 2016, and that was the Abyssal. I had an Abyssal head in my bank, thankfully, so I was able to create that pretty quickly. And as you can see, it went from that to Vorkath, Hydra, Kalphite, Tztok, my Elite Combat Achievement, Jade Helm, the King Black Dragon, Twisted Helm recently, and then the other two that I don't have. So they're the only two at the end that I don't have, and I've just put them in order. Obviously that I would have to get the Master before the Grandmaster, which Master may happen in the future. I can't see myself getting the Grandmaster. I just don't think I play the game enough to have the capability or the game knowledge, but maybe, who knows. Anyway, so and there's one other thing I want to say, that there will be a slight twist on it. I will be giving my Donald Trump Super S tier rating, which you'll know, and it'll kick in, and trust me, you'll know when it is. So that's just a little fun thing with this. And also another thing is I'll be showing the game in-game shots of the helm with a little sort of angle of it, just so you can see what it looks like in-game for those players that don't know. So I hope you all enjoy this video. Let's get started. Alright, so first up we have just the regular Slayer helm. Now I don't know if this is imbued, I can't really tell from that shot, but we're going to start with this one as the first one. Obviously, this was 2008, I think, when this Slayer helm came out originally, to make the Slayer helmet. I think it was 2008, but please let me know if it wasn't. I think Black Mask up until then was 2007, coming into early 2008, and then this helm came out. So that's your history lesson for this one. Obviously OSRS Wiki has all that information. So if we rate this, it's a very plain looking helm, but it is a classic, and for that reason, because for the newer players, or the noobs as we unpolitely call them, for you guys, I'm going to rate this a B. It's just a in-between helm. It's a nice looking helm. I think the imbued one looks a little bit better than the regular one. The shade of it's more bright, the shade of grey, if grey can even be bright. So let's see what this looks like in the in-game. Alright, so for the first Slayer helm, I'll zoom in here, we have the regular Slayer helm, and I will say this isn't the imbued, so it may not match the one we saw, but let's see what we reckon of this one. So very basic concept. You got the grey, you got the black, you got the sort of face guard there, the E-muffs. You can see all this quite clearly. It's put together. This is just a very nice looking helmet, standard, and if you have this, you'll be happy to be using this for a while until you get a recolor. Alright, so we've got the regular Slayer helm out the way, which I think might be the imbued one. So now starting with my first recolor in 2016, which is the Abyssal color. Now, I'll be rating these recolors off a few things, my criteria being how they look now after the updated versions, and also the rarity of them and how they were obtainable. So they're the sort of three things I'm looking at. So current look, how the updated either looks worse, better or worse, and how difficult they are to achieve. So for this one, I would have given the color scheme before it was updated with the green eyes, like S tier, or I think it was a green mouthpiece or something. because it had like an alien sort of acid look to it, and it really fit the demonic like red and green color scheme in my opinion for the Abyssal world. But I think for this one, unfortunately the color scheme doesn't work as well now, and there's so many of them, Abyssal heads, when back in 2016 people still hadn't done the Abyssal bosses much, so it was quite rare actually to see this first in game, because you had to kill a lot of Abyssal demons to get the Abyssal heads, unless you got super lucky. And I think I killed a hell of a lot of them, like about 10k or 20k back already in the 2016 days, and I only had like 1 or 2 heads, so they did take a while. But now I'm going to give this a C tier. So let's have a look at it in game, see what it looks like. Next one we have is the Abyssal helmet. Now this one is quite cool. I think it's obviously with the updated version, doesn't look as good as the old one in my subjective opinion. Now you got the purple eyes, you got the orange face guard, you got that black structure, you got the horns on the top, which I think actually suit it, to be honest. And you got that nice where you going, bro? Where you going? You get that nice red sort of look with it too, the Abyss sort of look. So I would, yeah, that's a pretty cool one, but it's just not, it doesn't look as good as it was, so it gets a big minus from me. So next up we have the Vorkath helmet. Now this is one that obviously is not rare at all, because anyone that has done a bit of questing and also knows how to boss relatively like mid content won't have a trouble at getting this at all. And I actually think this helm lacked beforehand, so the opposite of the Abyssal. I think its looks weren't as good. I think the update they did though is amazing, and I'd actually give this, I'm gonna go as far to say I'd give it an S tier. Now it's probably like a high, now it would be S tier if it was harder to get. There's so many of them. I'm gonna give it a high A tier just because of that with my rating system. So yeah, I'm giving this the high A tier for that one. And let's have a look at that in game. Alright, Vorkath's helmet. This is amazing. Look at this with the missing horn. You got the sort of bone structure of the dragons, the blue eyes, sort of the blue look of the cold Freemic snow, and it's obviously that plague theme. There's no green. I think maybe green would pop it a little bit more, but with that plague theme. But still, this is amazing. The only thing giving this minus is how common it is seen in the game now. It's still an amazing helmet though. Alright, let's check the next one. So we got a Hydra Slayer helm. Now this one beforehand looked amazing in my opinion still. The colours of it are some of the best colours, and the bone structure of it with the Hydra bones. I think this with the eyes works, the aqua eyes, or that whatever colour that is. I honestly think initially this was super duper rare to see in 2019 I believe, and I think I got mine pretty early, and not many players had it. Like it would have been thousands of players had it, but because you're in those game server worlds, obviously you might only see, you know, 2 or 3 in a day, or when it first released you might have only seen 1 or 2 each week, world hopping. So initially this one was super duper rare. The drop rate of it, like people didn't do Hydra, didn't know the mechanics as well. Over time, as usual, this became, I wouldn't say like a Vorkath helmet, because you still have that Slayer requirement, and also the boss is, I wouldn't say it's more challenging than Vorkath, but certainly to do it longer, it uses your brain cells a bit more. So given these points, the difficulty of the boss is a little touch above Vorkath, but I would honestly say that the colours alone, and the rarity being much rarer than Vorkath's, the Vorkath head, I'm honestly giving this an S tier, because it's one of the, let's be real, it's one of the best Slayer helmets out there, with another one coming up soon that I'm going to rate. But yeah, I think this one's just phenomenal. It's been it's been one of my favourites using it in the game over time. So let's check what this looks out in game. Next one is the Hydra helmet. Now this one has some of the coolest bone structure I've ever seen. Look at this, like it really just it just looks like a, you know, like it fits that theme, doesn't it, of the Hydra. The nice sort of Mount Carmel sort of, is that a blue? I don't know. It just suits this one. It's very low key, and the eyes with it being blue, you can just see them. It's just a hell of a Slayer helm, this one. And I think it's the perfect one where you don't see it as much as the other ones, so you feel pretty cool when you're wearing it. And it's definitely like the one before the Elite Combat Achievements, I think, in its rarity probably. Alright, so what do we got for the next one? We got the Kalphite Queen head. Now this one's interesting. I feel like, because this one was out before the Hydra helm, and I feel like it was super duper rare to see it before. Like, you would see the Abyssal one a fair bit, but in 2016 the Kalphite head, for some reason, still a lot of people hadn't obtained it for whatever reason. Maybe they just didn't do Kalphite Queen enough, and they just done it with Verics, with groups before. Because, you know, when the old school RuneScape servers started, there was not much, you know, there was not much gear in the game. I don't think we had God Wars yet, wasn't in the game. So, you know, Verics with the rune boots. So, yeah, a lot of players probably didn't do Kalphite Queen enough, so there wasn't as many. But over time, Kalphite Queen's a joke. So it's much more common to see it. So we're going more off how it's been updated, the look. So I think the Kalphite Queen helmet before the update look alright anyway. The colours were amazing. It's got that bug theme, and since the update it's only got better. It's like that bug antenna. It looks like a Bug's Life sort of thing, like the antennas of a bug. And the colour scheme's amazing, and the rarity, still you don't see it as much as the Vorkath and the Abyssal one. So for this one, just because of the colour scheme and the looks, I'm actually giving this an S tier. It's one of my favourite helms to wear actually nowadays. This one, just the colour schemes of it, I love green, so, and orange looks cool with it. So yeah, it's got a bug look. And yeah, Power Ranger sort of, I mean, all these sort of have that Power Ranger look, but that one especially sort of look like a green Power Ranger. Anyway, let's see what it looks like in the game world. Alright, onto Kalphite, the bug helmet. So this one's very cool. The colour scheme makes you look like a bug. You got the green, you got the orange wrapping around the head here, and the spines of it being sort of like a purplish sort of hue. And this one as well, it's much rarer to see, I would say, than the Abyss one. Or the purple one, and it's a good one to have before going into those Elite Combat Achievements, I would say. So yeah, this one definitely is a very solid one, much like the Hydra Slayer helmet. Okay, what do we got next? We have the Skatizo helmet. So this one, you see it a lot. It was. I feel like this one wasn't rare upon release. Upon release, but then after a month or two, like, this one was just seen everywhere, even more so perhaps, or on the same level as the Abyssal one, if not more. So this one took me a while, because with the Catacombs, I quit for a while. Because I got pissed off because I'd trained my Slayer up, really grinding it out, and then they released the Catacombs, which made Slayer XP a bit of a joke in there with bursting and barraging. So I was a little bit pissed off, and I think I quit Slayer especially just because I was annoyed, I think, for a few months. So I missed out on the hype here. So as you can see, I've done these in order, and this one's taken me a while to get, or I just think I might have not bothered. I maybe had the claws or whatever, just didn't worry about it. But to give this one a rating, I'm going to say off colours beforehand, I did like the colour. I think the helm, for me, I preferred it beforehand. But it still does look pretty cool. The Skatizo sort of like horns. I think this is one where I'm going to put it as a high B. Yeah, so this one's like a middle of the rung. If it would be a nice one, you know, if you've got just a normal Slayer helm, say you're an Iron Man or you're just a new player, not an Iron Man, and you get that claw, you're going to be pretty stoked to upgrade to that for a little, just to get your taste buds into PVM, just to see what it's about and get a cool Slayer helm upgrade. So that one's pretty cool. Let's check that out in game. Alright, next one we have is the purple Slayer helmet, the Skatizo Slayer helmet. Now, one of the things I love about this is the purple spikes. So it keeps the purple, and also the black, the sides of the eyes, the actual face guard of it is very sort of black demon looking, which fits the Skatizo theme. Now, the purple, it just something. I think the first one looked better in my opinion, and this one definitely gives it a little bit more with that going up the top there. I just think that I prefer subjectively the first one, and the fact that it's such a common one now does ruin it a bit for me, seeing this around a lot. So those things mark it down, but definitely a solid one, especially for your first recolor. You'll be super stoked if you get that, because much better looking. In looks wise, I'd say that's just more the classic for me, rating that a bit above, but for most players they're going to be much happier with this one. Alright, so let's see, the next one is the Toxic Jad helm from the Elite Achievements, Elite Combat Achievement points. Now this one is a much newer one, so newer one with the combat achievement rewards, and I've got to say this one is super cool for a few reasons. One, it looks cool, so the color scheme, it hasn't been updated or anything, so it's just can't go off that, so it's mainly just how it looks and how difficult it is. So looks, for me, that's easily a 9 out of 10 helmet. Just the spikes, the colors with the slight with the white, just to give the changes of the reds. You can see like the stripes of the reds, the orange eyes, the horns. It's just magnificent helm, this one. And the difficulty to achieve it is you don't see this much at all. Very super rare helm, these combat achievement ones, and it can be a pain to get. And obviously there are sellers who will get you these with services, but that's against the game rules. So if you get caught and your account's part of that, basically good game. So if you do get this fairly, properly using your skill, yes, it is a very cool helm. So this one, easily, it's the best. For me, it's the best helm that I currently own by far. So yeah, this one is an S tier. Plain and simple. It just matches with so many things, and it's a flex. Let's be real. Like, these are we're getting to that one being the flex item, the start of the flex item for Slayer items now, for the Slayer helm. So yeah, let's check this one in game. All right, the big, it's huge, the biggest thing we've ever seen. This is the big one. So this is the S tier, my S tier. This is one of the biggest wins for the Slayer community. This one, if you've done the Elite Combat Achievements, I bet you are wearing this mainly around. Just look at this, like, just the orange matches with the red, but the thing that really comes to mind is these spikes up the top everywhere. Just really suits the theme of the fight caves and Toxic Jad. It just has that nice, like, real it's just a nice looking helmet, just proportionate, everything about it, just a very cool helmet, and it fits with a lot of things. So yeah, this one, clear to me, clear as day, is the best looking Slayer helmet out there. Alright, so we got the classic KBD helm. Now this one, the reason it's on this list still is, and it took me a long time, is because I had a lot of KBD heads. And the first one being in the Nunga I actually used it on my POH a long time ago, and then they brought in the Slayer helm update and only had one of the heads, and I was like, god damn it, now I'm going to have to get this. So I didn't do KBD enough because I did Elite Black Dragons for a long time with the T-Bow, because that was really good money when they had the Dragon full helm for the Slayer task. But then I realised I've got to get the collection, so I ended up doing KBD a bit and got a lot of heads. The KBD heads dropped like nothing, like even more so than Kalphite Queen, and obviously I made a Slayer helm when I got enough points. So that was a story with this one being late in the list acquired, but this one I thought before the update was crap. I just didn't like it, very dull looking. Also the fact that it was just super easy. Like this one you probably saw perhaps more even than the Abyssal one, which was crazy, because the Abyssal one, like with the boss being out, was a joke, to be honest. Once the boss, everyone knew the boss dropped it. And if you had achieved this one with just Abyssal demons, I think it'd be much rarer, but with the boss dropping it, it's much easier to obtain. So I would say with this KBD, since the update, it's actually definitely a A tier. I wouldn't give it above the Vorkath one, just because Vorkath's got the missing dragon. Also, the boss fight's harder, and in addition, it's got that plague dragon like theme that I like. This one's just a classic though. Like they really nailed it with revising that, and the little middle horn in the middle, and the horns, red eyes, black. Can't go wrong. It's classic. They really got that, which is awesome to see, because I would have rated it beforehand down with a C with the original look. So the opposite of what happened with the Abyssal, to be honest. So let's check what it looks like in game. Alright, so now we've got the KBD helm. So this one's pretty cool, the black. I must say, this one looks so much better than the original that they had. Look at the horns, that looks pretty cool. It looks like a dragon, doesn't it? And the middle bit there, the red eyes, definitely dragon-like with the black spikes. This is one of the coolest helms by far in game. One of the classic bosses of KBD. The KBD head, what a classic drop as well. So if you got that, hopefully in-game early, you may even catch this one as your first Slayer helm recolor. I'll probably pop this one up with Skatizo being most players first, but if they've done questing, maybe Vorkath first, or you know, the Twisted Helm likely would be the first, to be honest, because you can just buy it and you have the Slayer points available. But this one, definitely for bossing wise, I would call this probably the one you would get first, and what a helm to get. Right, so we're getting closer and closer to the end now. So we got the Twisted Helm. So I just made this. I got a confession to make. I feel a bit weird about it because I didn't actually do the Twisted Leagues. I honestly think they shouldn't have made this one buyable, but you had to do a Twisted League at least once and have it in like the, you know, you have the Twisted League points to get it. So you could have done it like they had it archived or something that you could get that as a first reward. If they had taken that away as a reward, can you imagine how rare this thing would be, and you couldn't purchase the Twisted Horns? This thing would be like one of the rarest probably. But because of that, like I think King Condor made a video and he thought it was hype there, but then the chat I think told him you can actually buy the horns, which made it go. I think it might have made it a bit shittier than it is, which is deservedly so if you can buy the horns. So just for the fact that you can buy the horns, that's getting a few minuses for me. The colour scheme though is incredibly cool, like with the white and the green. And this is the green I was talking about with that used to be on the Abyssal. Like, can you imagine that on the Abyssal still? Like it's just such a good colour for that combination. And the big twisted horns on it, being tied in with the Great Olm and having that theme of like, it's real old school RuneScape, because it was, you know, Raids 1, with the Great Olm being a real, with the Lizardmen theme too, and it being real in the old school RuneScape roots of it being its own thing, like Zora sort of thing. I definitely think that makes it jump up a little bit. Obviously took me a while to get it because it was one of the last ones with my Slayer points I needed to get out of the basic ones. So I'm going to give this one... I think I'm going to give it a B. If it was rare, if it was like you couldn't buy the points this easily, like I would even probably give it like a low S tier, or at least to take over the Vorkath helmet as a high A. But yeah, for me, subjectively speaking, with the way you can buy it, it's not rare at all. And you know, looks wise, yeah, it's like an A, low S, but just brings it down a little bit because you see it so much that it sort of, you know, makes it a bit shittier in my opinion. So let's check that one out in game. Alright, last one, and look how cool this looks. Like, honestly, this is one of the better looking helms, with the twisted horns, the spikes, and the favourite part for me about this is, which used to be my favourite part about the Abyssal helm, which would have been a high A, was the green mouth guard, or the green eyes. So look how cool that looks, fitting the Ulm theme. The only thing going against this, obviously, which is very disappointing, is the fact that you can buy the twisted horn on GE instead of actually working your way through Twisted League, to get this one, which would, you know, make it much rarer. And if they had not allowed you to get it and had kept it in the first league, this would be one of the rarest Slayer helms in game, probably, with the you know, the Combat Achievement ones. But that's my last one, guys. So to end it with the twisted helm, you know, you might see my future videos working on Combat Achievements. Hopefully I can get the Master Combat helm. I don't think I'll be getting the Grandmaster. I just am not that keen on trying for something like that. With my time, I have commitments and things, working full time, so for me the Grandmaster's probably a pipe dream, and that's okay. And I'm happy for players like Tasty and No Monkeys and players, EV-Skate players that are very capable and talented at the game to have it, and I can marvel and watch their videos. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this, guys, as a Slayer guide, Slayer tier list. Obviously I've done Slayer 27.7 mil XP, one of my favourite pastimes in OSRS when I get the chance, and I used to train it a hell of a lot more than I do now. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this Slayer helm tier list, and I'll see you all in the next one. And I think I just have a message from someone, but we'll go to that. Alright, so we have the last two. Now these ones I don't own, so this is very, very subjective because I can't really talk, haven't had it on my player, haven't had it matching with outfits, so just bear with me. I'm going totally off how they look here and how I've seen them in-game on other people wearing them. I personally think the Master Combat Achievement helm is a super big flex. Obviously the Elite is in itself a big flex, but it looks amazing. I actually think this one, the color scheme makes it look very like Power Ranger-ish, and also like a superhero sort of theme, and sort of reminds me of that. I'm actually going to give this an S tier, definitely. I think it's in front of the Hydra helm. I don't think it's in front of the Elite one. Even if I had this, I probably would wear it less, but just because I think this one looks cooler. But I do think I'd wear this a hell of a lot still for the flex aspect. Obviously much harder to obtain, much rarer to see than the Elite one. And yeah, to do like have enough for the master points, you are very good at PVM if you have this. So yeah, that one's a flex for sure. And the other one, because we're not showing, because I don't have these, I can't do the show and tell aspect on these two, but this one obviously being the Grandmaster is like one of the rarest items PVM wise you can obtain, having to do all the points, like literally everything up to Grandmaster completed as well, is the biggest flex ever. So S tier for achievement wise. But now we're getting to the looks. For me, I definitely don't like this. I just think the eyes on it, I'm not sure. It just, with the grey, it's very dull looking. And I mean, it is Tztok, which you know, that lava magma sort of aspect. You just would have hoped it was a bit more like a red scar in it, or like a magma splash of like on the horns maybe, I don't know, like something, like just something cooler. But the horns are massive, and that's cool. I just don't think it works with old school RuneScape with the art direction. For some reason, it just looks very clunky, almost like Torva, how they've tried to fit that in with how it looks with the game engine. I just think this, honestly, is a... It's... I think I've got to respect it and put it in low A. For looks, I'm literally giving it, like, I would put it in C. Like, I'd put it ahead of this just because the horns and that, but it's just too clunky. I don't know how to explain it for me personally, but the actual flex factor brings that back up easily to an A, and it should be S tier for that. But this, guys, I hope you enjoyed. This is my Slayer tier helm guide. Now, obviously, I'm not a veteran in the Slayer aspect, but I do only... the only helms I don't own are two of these, which is the Master and the Grandmaster. So I feel like I do have a bit of a voice on this with how they look, subjectively speaking. I hope you all enjoyed. And oh, my last thing I forgot, which one do you think was the Donald Trump S tier? Well, it was obviously the Jad helm, because it's big, it's the biggest thing we've ever seen, it's huge, absolutely huge. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next tier list.